Matoi has been out for a few days now. I've done a bit of testing. In this video, I will share with you my first impression of this character. So let me quickly go through the kit. Her kit is definitely one of the more complicated kits in the game because of technicals and stuff. So some skills and highlight can activate ice technicals. So ice technical is basically when you use an ice skill on a character on opponents that have shock, freeze or burn. So at the start of every Matoi's turn, you gain 1 extinguish stack. Stack up to 4 times. And then when you use the skill 3, you will inflict this damnation stack on all foes for each extinguish stack you spend. So basically, if you have 2 extinguish stacks, use skill 3, you will convert that extinguish stack into damnation stack, and that damnation stack will increase damage taken by 6% for 2 turns. So the skill 1 requires burn. It's a defense debuff up to like 38%, 39%, and then you increase technical precision. Technical precision is basically increasing the effect of technical damage. I think I'll make a separate video, separate guide on what is technical precision. This one is also very complicated, a bit confusing. So just take it as improving technical damage or improving the effects of technicals. So you need burn here because if you have at least 1 burn opponent, you remove the burn and then apply scout. So basically you convert burn into scout, and this scout applies to everybody. So you just need 1 burn on the opponent. And then scout also increases technical precision. So you do want to apply the scout. Then skill 2 we can skip because skill 2 is useless. Then skill 3, you can only use this when you have 2 extinguish stacks. So on turn 1, you get 1, right? Then you use a skill 1, you have 2 total. Then on turn 2, you get another 1, so you have 3 stacks. That means you are able to use the skill 3. So the rotation for Matoi is going to be 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. You should be able to get 2 extinguish stacks every 2 turns, right? Because every turn you're going to get 1 anyways. Then you get an extra 1 when you use skill 1. So you spend 2 extinguish stacks to do AoE damage to decrease defense and activate ice technical. If ice burn is activated, ice burn is basically you use ice skill on burn opponents. So that means you need burn. And I forgot to mention scout counts as burn. So you need to use the skill 1 when there's burn to apply scout. And then you use skill 3 on the scout opponents to apply cold flames. Cold flame is basically the evolved version of ice burn. So ice burn is basically increasing ice and fire damage taken. So this effect becomes stronger as it evolves into cold flames. So it increased damage taken by quite a bit. It's 9.8% plus 39%. This is only for 2 stacks. Okay, if it's at 4 stacks, the effects become stronger. So at 4 or more stacks, you evolve this skill to Requiem Guidance. So okay, let me say that this effect and this effect are separate. Okay, they don't stack. So it's either this or this. Okay, so at 4 stacks, you decrease more defense. Just now was 39.3, this one is 35.1. So it's higher defense debuff. And then similarly, when you activate the ice technical, so when you use your skill 3 on opponents that is burn or scout, your ice burn will evolve into cold flames and you increase even more damage taken. So basically, like I said, you need to have burn every time for Matoi's kit to be fully activated. Very, very important. And to do that, you can use the Persona Throne. Or if you have Howler, you can run them with Howler. Or if you're running with An, you probably don't need any like burn character because An can burn with skill 3. So yeah, Throne can inflict blade burn on the start of the turn. This is I think a mistranslation. It's supposed to be only 1 foe at the start of battle, not every 2 turns. So it gives you a free burn on the start, which is nice. Then you can use the signature skill to apply Purifying Flame. If you use Purifying Flame on Matoi, the party will get a bit attack buff, and on top of that, Matoi will have a good chance of inflicting burn every turn for 3 turns. But yeah, back to the highlight. You do AoE ice damage and then increase damage taken up to 29.3%. This skill can also activate Ice Technical. Then when you activate Deep Freeze is using Ice skill or Ice highlight on frozen opponent, which everybody should be frozen because skill 1 inflicts freeze. If you activate Deep Ice, you have a 32% chance to inflict Icebound. Icebound is basically like a paralysis, you cannot move. Think of it as like a freeze in Pokemon. You absolutely cannot move, but it doesn't really apply to SOS or Guild Bosses because they are immune to these sort of like effects. Then you increase damage taken by enemies with freeze, let's highlight, up to 99.8%. Then after that you do another tick of damage. So it's 29.3 plus 9.8. So her Element Accuracy requirement is 171. It's actually pretty easy to hit, this one, compared to the other, even Howler I think, I found it easier to hit. And the reason I think is it gives you quite a bit of Element Accuracy, 30% with the Faith and Futility card, which you do want on her. So I'm gonna skip the awareness for now. I'll talk about that in final review video. But anyways, let's go through the 4 and 5 star weapon. So 4-star weapon is actually pretty decent. The main thing is that it gives you element accuracy. 11.4% element accuracy per extinguished stack, which you get every turn. But the thing is, it's not consistent. Because sometimes you're gonna have only 1, sometimes you're gonna have 3, sometimes you're gonna have 4. So it's not gonna be consistent, but it's not too bad. I will show you the data because I tested a max tube 4-star. For 5-star weapon, not bad. Increase 36%. If you notice, right, 36%, 11.4%, this one can stack up to 4 times. So technically, 4-star weapon can give you more element accuracy, but it's only for like 1 or 2 turns. So it will increase attack based on the element accuracy. Then when you activate Ice Technical, so again, use Ice Skill on like a frozen enemy or burn enemy, decrease defense even more. This defense is nice. Defense debuff, always nice, as long as you have an overcap. It's definitely more useful for AoE because it's more difficult to debuff defense for AoE bosses, which Matoi actually thrives at. But defense debuff is quite high, up to like 100, almost 100%, which is even more than Howler's AoE debuff. But yeah, I'll show you a bit of data. I've already done a few tests. Still a bit more testing to be done, because taking only one test is not enough to conclude anything. So we can look at this one. So I've done it on Bishop Mountain. Not the best boss to test on. I would prefer one to test on a fire boss or something. Bishop Mountain, 5-star weapon 6.3, 4-star weapon 5.7. It's a 10% increase from 5-star to 4-star. For 4-star weapon max tube. That's actually a decent jump actually. 10% is quite a big jump. And I actually do recommend getting the 5-star weapon. It not only gives you element accuracy, like a fixed element accuracy stat, defense debuff is also useful. So if you plan to get Matoi, a weapon is not bad. Now we move on to an ARN team. I want to compare Matoi with Howler, because they are very similar, right? Fire debuffer and an ice debuffer. They both debuff defense, they both increase damage taken on the foe. So the first test I did was with an ARN team, and it's a 40% increase from Howler to Matoi. That's quite a big jump. When the first tested this, I thought it was going to be like 10-15%, but 40% is very high. And it makes sense, because Matoi improves technical damage, improves technical effects, and ARN can actually do technical damage, because the fire skills does technical on like a freeze or burn target, which it does more damage. But one thing I would say is that the current SOS, the SOS Bishop Mountain favors Matoi more, because it's an ice boss, ice weak boss, so there's 3 times the points. That also contributes more to Matoi, right? So Matoi will get more points. So I need to wait for like a fire boss or something to test, hopefully soon, next week or something. The next test is with a Fox team. Fox team not the best test to do because RNG, right? But it should still give you an idea. 26% increase. Matoi is 26% better. I haven't really put out the details on what's the numbers and stuff for Matoi, but I think Matoi has bigger numbers overall if you activate everything, right? So having burn every turn, I think Matoi can go up to 100% damage taken increase, which is I'm pretty sure higher than Howler. And Matoi also debuffs more defense than Howler, especially for AoE. The nice thing about Matoi is that the defense debuff applies to everything, both AoE and single target. Meanwhile, Howler debuffs more for single target, debuffs less for AoE targets, and even less if it's not Fire, Ice, Electric Weak. Matoi applies to everybody. 26% increase is a decent increase, but like I said, SOS favors Matoi right now because of Ice Weak, so her damage gives more points. So I need to wait for other bosses to test this, preferably a guild boss or something. So should you pull Matoi? Right now, probably not. I still haven't do a lot of testing. The big one I want to test is testing Matoi against Vino for single target bosses, because if you watch my Howler video, my Howler final review video, Howler is worse than Vino, which is crazy. But I'm pretty sure Matoi will be better than Vino. But I have to test and see. The other test I want to do is Matoi against Twins. If somehow Matoi can send toe-to-toe to the Twins, then maybe, just maybe, she can be considered. As of right now, you can just skip, maybe wait for my final review video, which will be released maybe by the end of the month. It's gonna take a while because I still need to work on the Tempest Wind video.